My name is Carleen. I'm 36 years old and work as a financial advisor in Chicago. I've always been the responsible one supporting my family since college graduation. This morning, I checked my phone to find a text from my mother in our family group chat. "No one's coming to your party, grow up." After everything I've sacrificed for them, paying their rent, buying their car, covering their credit cards. I stared at those cruel words, my hands trembling. Before I tell you how I finally stood up for myself after years of being used, Eden, let me know where you're watching from and hit subscribe if family betrayal stories resonate with you. Growing up as the oldest of 3 children in a middle-class suburb outside Detroit, I learned early that my parents Gloria and Thomas cared more about appearances than emotional support. Our house was always immaculate when guests came over, but behind closed doors things were different. My mother would spend hours making sure everything looked perfect for neighbors, while ignoring the emotional needs of her children. My father worked long hours at his insurance office and was mostly absent both physically and emotionally. From age 10, I became the default caretaker for my younger siblings Jackson and Amanda. I packed their lunches, helped with homework, and made sure they got to school on time when our parents were too busy or simply uninterested. While other kids my age were playing after school, I was practically running our household. Carleen is so mature for her age. Adults would say not realizing this wasn't by choice but necessity. My parents took this as a compliment, rather than recognizing they were forcing me to grow up too quickly. Despite the additional responsibilities, I excelled academically. Studying became my escape and validation. When I brought home straight A's, my mother would briefly acknowledge it before finding something to criticize. "That's nice, but why is your room still messy?" Or "Good grades won't matter if you don't fix your appearance." By high school, I was working part-time at a local bookstore while maintaining perfect grades and still caring for my siblings. Jackson, 4 years younger, was beginning to show the same entitled attitude as our parents. Amanda, 6 years younger, was quieter, sometimes giving me looks of gratitude when I stood up for her against our mother's criticisms. When college application season arrived, my guidance counselor encouraged me to apply to top universities. I still remember my mother's reaction when I mentioned Northwestern. "Don't set yourself up for disappointment," she said dismissively. When the acceptance letter arrived along with a substantial scholarship, she barely acknowledged it, only commenting that Chicago was too far away and who would help with the household. Despite the guilt trips, I went to Northwestern to study finance. Those 4 years were transformative. For the first time, I was surrounded by people who valued intelligence and ambition. I made real friends who celebrated my successes instead of diminishing them. My roommate Jasmine became the sister I wished I had. Growing up someone who gave as much as she took in our relationship. During my junior year, the calls started. My father's insurance business was struggling. They were having trouble making the mortgage payment. Could I spare some money from my scholarship stipend? Despite barely having enough for my own expenses, I sent what I could. After graduating with honors, I landed a position at a respected financial firm in Chicago. The starting salary felt enormous compared to my college budget. I rented a small but nice apartment in Wicker Park and began building my adult life. The requests from home continued and escalated. First, it was helping with their mortgage, just this one time. Then it was car repairs, medical bills, and eventually my parents were facing foreclosure on the house I grew up in. By this time, I was 26 and advancing in my career. Without fully thinking through the implications, I offered to pay their rent if they downsized to an apartment. They accepted immediately, but instead of choosing a modest place, they selected a luxury apartment complex that cost $2,300 per month, nearly as much as their mortgage had been. When I expressed concern about the cost, my mother said, "After all we did raising you, this is the least you can do. Besides, you make plenty of money now." That pattern continued for the next decade. When their car broke down, I didn't just help with repairs, I ended up buying them a new SUV. When they mentioned credit card debt, I paid it off, and then foolishly added them as authorized users on my accounts, for emergencies only. Those emergencies somehow included designer clothes for my mother and golf clubs for my father. Meanwhile, my siblings followed different paths. Jackson went to a state college, partied more than studied, and now at 32 works sporadically in sales jobs, frequently between positions and always short on cash. Amanda finished community college and became a teacher, struggling on her modest salary, but rarely asking for help. Through it all, I kept hoping for what I never received as a child: approval, appreciation, love. Each sacrifice I made was another attempt to fill that emotional void. Each time I paid a bill or solved a problem, I hoped this would be when they finally saw me, valued me, loved me unconditionally. My birthdays had always been underwhelming affairs. As a child, my parents would throw elaborate parties for Jackson and Amanda, but treat mine as an afterthought. "You're too practical to care about parties," my mother would say, as if my practicality wasn't a survival mechanism I'd developed in their household. In adulthood, my birthdays typically involved a quick phone call from my parents, usually a day late, and maybe dinner with Jasmine and a few friends. But this year, turning 36, I decided things would be different. It wasn't a traditional milestone birthday, but after a recent promotion to senior financial advisor and finally building substantial savings despite supporting my family, I wanted to celebrate properly. Looking back, I can see how my desire for a real birthday celebration was really a desire for validation. I wanted my family to see me succeed, to acknowledge my achievements, to celebrate me just once, after all the times I'd supported and celebrated them. That desire would prove to be my blind spot, leaving me vulnerable to the hurt that was coming. I'd never been someone who made a big deal about my birthday, but turning 36 felt significant to me for reasons I couldn't quite articulate. Maybe it was because at 36 my mother had been married with 3 children, while I remained single, focused on my career, and if I'm honest, taking care of my family financially. Or perhaps it was because after years of therapy, I was finally beginning to understand my worth wasn't tied to what I could provide others. Whatever the reason, I decided this birthday would be different. 3 months in advance, I began planning. I researched venues and fell in love with a charming event space in downtown Chicago, with exposed brick walls, twinkling string lights, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river. It wasn't cheap, but for once I decided to spend money on myself rather than my family. "You deserve this," my therapist, Dr. Winters, assured me during one of our sessions when I expressed guilt about the cost. "You've spent years taking care of everyone else. It's time to celebrate yourself." With her encouragement, I put down the deposit and began creating the perfect event. I hired a caterer known for their fusion cuisine, selected a playlist of my favorite songs, and even splurged on a professional photographer. I wanted to document this night to have tangible evidence that I had celebrated myself properly at least once. Creating the guest list brought both excitement and anxiety. I included my colleagues from the financial firm, friends from my book club and yoga class, neighbors from my building, and a few clients who had become friends over the years. And of course, my family. For my family invitations, I went beyond the digital invitation I sent everyone else. I called each of them personally, explaining how much it would mean to have them there. My mother responded with her typical lukewarm enthusiasm. "We'll try to make it, but you know your father doesn't like driving into the city." I offered to arrange transportation, even saying I'd pay for them to stay at a hotel downtown if they wanted to make a weekend of it. After some negotiation, she tentatively agreed. Jackson was more direct. "Sounds expensive? Will there be an open bar?" When I confirmed there would be, he suddenly became more interested. Amanda, now living in Grand Rapids with her husband, seemed genuinely pleased for me, but concerned about the 3-hour drive with their toddler. Again, I offered solutions, including covering their hotel room and even helping with gas money. As RSVPs started coming in, my excitement grew. Colleagues I wasn't sure would attend confirmed yes. Jasmine was bringing her husband and another couple we were friends with. Even my former college roommate was flying in from Denver. Each yes felt like a small validation that people cared about me, wanted to celebrate with me. A week before the party, I went shopping for the perfect outfit. After trying on countless dresses, I found one that made me feel beautiful, a deep emerald green that complemented my auburn hair and brought out the green in my hazel eyes. I splurged on new shoes and a clutch to match, justifying the expense as part of my gift to myself. The day before my birthday, I confirmed details with the venue, checked in with the caterer, and made sure the photographer had all the information needed. Everything was set. That night, I had trouble sleeping, feeling like a child on Christmas Eve, full of anticipation for the day ahead. I woke up on my birthday morning feeling genuinely excited. The party wasn't until that evening, but I had taken the day off work to get a massage and manicure, little luxuries I rarely allowed myself. I stretched in bed, reached for my phone to check the time, and saw a notification from our family group chat. I assumed it would be birthday wishes. I was wrong. But before I get to that devastating message, let me tell you about the speech I had prepared. I'd planned to thank everyone for coming, to express gratitude for the relationships that had sustained me. I'd even practiced it in the mirror, determined not to get emotional. For my family, I had special words of appreciation planned, acknowledging our complicated history, but focusing on love and growth. I'd imagined my mother's face as I publicly thanked her, hoped it might finally bring the connection I'd always craved. I'd also arranged for a small table with photos showing my journey from awkward teenager to confident professional woman. Many featured my family, those rare moments when we looked happy together. I'd selected them carefully, focusing on positive memories despite the difficulties. That's who I was always trying to see the best, always giving another chance. The venue had worked with me to arrange surprise touches I thought my family would appreciate. My father's favourite whiskey at the bar, my mother's preferred flowers in some of the arrangements. Little details to make them feel special seen. As I lay in bed that birthday morning, I had no idea those thoughtful touches would go unappreciated, that the speech would never be delivered, that everything was about to change. The morning sun filtered through my bedroom blinds as I reached for my phone, expecting birthday messages from friends. Instead, a notification from our family group chat caught my attention. Mum had rarely used the group chat since I created it 3 years ago to coordinate holiday plans. Curious. I opened the message. The words hit me like a physical blow. "No one's coming to your party, grow up." I blinked, sure I had misread. I looked again. The capital letters shouted from my screen, my mother's name beside them. I scrolled down looking for context and explanation, anything that would make sense of this cruelty. There was nothing. Just those 8 hostile words hanging there unanswered. I noticed my father and siblings had read the message. None had responded. No defense of me, no questions about what prompted this, just silent complicity. My hands trembled as I called Jasmine. "Have you heard anything from my family?" My voice sounded strange, distant. "Oh, Carleen." Her hesitation told me everything before she continued. "Your mum called me yesterday. She said you were making too big a deal of your birthday and that they decided not to come. She asked if I was still going, implied it would be embarrassing for you when no one showed up." The room seemed to tilt. Did she contact other guests too? "I think so. Beth mentioned getting a strange call from a woman asking about your party. And there's more." Jasmine paused. "Amanda posted on Facebook about a family gathering at your parents' place tonight. Same time as your party." The betrayal crashed over me in waves. Not only were they not coming, they had actively tried to sabotage my celebration and planned a competing event. On my birthday, I tried calling my mother, but she sent me to voicemail. I texted my father directly, "Dad, what's going on with Mum's message?" His reply came quickly. "You know how she gets, don't make it a big deal." We thought a family dinner would be nicer than some fancy party. I sat on my bed, still in pajamas, tears streaming down my face. Then I called Amanda, hoping my sister might offer some explanation. "I can't talk now," she said immediately. "Lily's having a meltdown." "Amanda, please, just tell me why Mum would send that message, why you're all going to their place instead of my party." "It's not personal," she said, though it was the definition of personal. "Mum thought your party sounded pretentious. Dad doesn't like driving to the city, and frankly, Carleen, it did seem like a lot. A photographer, really." I tried Jackson next, who answered with obvious annoyance. "Can't talk now in a meeting." It was Saturday. Jackson hadn't had a steady job in months. I sat in stunned silence, replaying years of manipulation and dismissal. The time my mother claimed she couldn't attend my college graduation because of a migraine, only to post pictures from a neighbour's barbecue that same day. How they had forgotten to call on 3 of my birthdays until I mentioned it. How every accomplishment of mine was minimised, while Jackson's smallest achievements were celebrated lavishly. Then I looked back at the group chat. Those capital letters screamed at me, "Grow up!" After everything I had done for them. After the tens of thousands of dollars I had given them. After the constant emotional support and practical help. They thought I was childish for wanting a birthday party. Something cold and clear crystallized in my chest. With steady fingers, I typed a 2-word reply to my mother's message, "Understood." Then I set down my phone and began to think. Sitting cross-legged on my bed, I reached for the leather-bound planner I keep meticulously organized. I flipped to the financial section, where I track recurring payments. There it was scheduled for tomorrow. Parents' rent. $2.03 automatic payment. That number stared back at me. $2,300 every month for years, not including utilities, which I also covered, not including the car payments, insurance, maintenance, not including the credit cards they used as if the bills didn't matter because they never saw them. I did. With sudden clarity, I opened my laptop and began creating a spreadsheet. In one column, I listed every type of financial support I'd provided my family. In another, I estimated monthly and annual amounts. In a third, I calculated the total over the years. As the numbers grew, so did my resolve. Rent $2,300 monthly, $27,600 annually, $138,000 over 5 years. Car $34,000, purchase plus $2,400 annual insurance, and approximately $1,500 in maintenance yearly. Credit cards varying amounts but averaging $3,000 monthly for the past 3 years. Cash gifts and loans never repaid approximately $25,000. The total made me physically ill, over $250,000. Money that could have gone toward my own home instead of renting toward investments toward building a family of my own. I'd been so focused on earning their love and approval that I'd allowed this financial abuse to continue unchecked. My clients came to me for financial advice, trusted me to help them make sound decisions while I was bleeding money to people who couldn't even show up for my birthday. I navigated to my online banking portal and found the scheduled payment for my parents' rent. My finger hovered over the cancel button. Years of conditioning made me hesitate, imagining my mother's reaction, my father's disappointment, the family drama that would ensue. Then I remembered those capital letters. No one's coming to your party, grow up. I clicked cancel. The confirmation message appeared. Your scheduled payment has been cancelled. Such a simple action, yet it felt monumental. I expected guilt to overwhelm me. Instead, I felt a profound sense of relief, as if I'd put down a heavy burden I'd been carrying for years. Next, I called the bank that held the car loan for the SUV I'd bought my parents. I'd like to report the vehicle as needing to be reclaimed, I explained to the representative. Since the car was in my name legally, they had no right to it if I revoked permission. The representative explained the process and scheduled the recovery for the following day. Then came the credit cards. One by one, I called each company. I need to cancel the authorized user cards on my account, I told each representative, and I need to ensure no new charges will be approved effective immediately. May I ask the reason for the cancellation? One representative inquired. I paused, considering how to explain years of financial exploitation in a customer service call. The arrangement is no longer working out, I said simply. By noon, I had dismantled my parents' financial dependence on me. I felt simultaneously powerful and terrified. This was uncharted territory after years of acquiescence. My phone rang at 2:17 p.m. My mother's name flashed on the screen. I took a deep breath and answered. The apartment manager just called, she said without preamble or birthday wishes. He said there's a problem with the rent payment. There's no problem, I replied, my voice steadier than I expected. I cancelled it. Silence then. What do you mean you cancelled it? Is this some kind of joke? It's not a joke, Mom. I'm no longer paying your rent, or the car payment, or the credit cards. Her laugh was sharp, disbelieving. Don't be ridiculous. Of course you are. You've always taken care of these things. Not anymore. After your message this morning, I've realized our relationship is unhealthy. I'm enabling behavior that isn't good for any of us. Is this about the stupid party? For God's sake, Carleen, you're 36 years old. Grown women don't need birthday parties. This isn't about the party, I said, though it partially was. This is about years of taking advantage of my generosity without showing basic respect or gratitude. So you're punishing us because we didn't want to drive all the way to Chicago for some overpriced dinner after everything we've done for you. The audacity of that statement left me momentarily speechless. What exactly have you done for me, Mom? In recent years, I mean. She sputtered. We raised you. We put a roof over your head. We sacrificed everything for you children. I've been putting a roof over your head for the past 5 years, I pointed out, and I'm not asking for gratitude for that. I'm asking for basic respect which you clearly cannot provide. You'll regret this, she hissed before hanging up. My father called next, his approach more conciliatory but equally manipulative. Pumpkin, your mother is very upset. There must be some misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding, Dad. I'm done financing your lifestyle while being treated like an inconvenience. But sweetheart, you know how your mother gets. She didn't mean anything by that message. We're just not party people. This isn't about the party, I repeated. This is about a pattern of behavior that's gone on too long. I've made my decision. His tone changed, panic seeping in. But how will we pay the rent or the car payment? We're on fixed incomes now. You managed before I started paying. You'll figure it out again. I ended the call before he could continue. The text messages from Jackson came next, full of expletives and accusations about abandoning family. Amanda sent a more measured message expressing disappointment in my drastic actions and suggesting I was overreacting to Mum being Mum. None of them acknowledged it was my birthday. None of them recognized the years of support I had provided. All they saw was what I was taking away, not what I had given. The clarity this provided was worth every moment of anxiety I felt. I cancelled my spa appointments and spent the day documenting every financial arrangement I had with my family, creating copies of agreements, gathering evidence of payments. If they decided to escalate the situation, I would be prepared. It wasn't the birthday I had planned, but it was perhaps the one I needed the day I finally stood up for myself. The doorbell rang at 7:30 the next morning. I was already awake, having slept fitfully, anticipating the fallout from my decisions. Through the peephole, I could see my entire family, mother, father, brother and sister, standing in the hallway. Amanda's husband must have stayed behind with their daughter. I considered not answering, but knew this confrontation was inevitable. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door. My mother pushed past me into the apartment, not waiting for an invitation. "This little tantrum has gone far enough," she announced, her voice tight with controlled anger. "You need to fix the rent payment today." My father followed, looking uncomfortable but determined. Jackson slouched in next, avoiding eye contact. Amanda entered last, giving me an apologetic look that did nothing to soothe my anger. "Good morning to you too," I said, closing the door. I wasn't expecting visitors, especially not after you all had such an important family gathering last night. My mother waved her hand dismissively. "Stop being petty. This isn't about some birthday party. This is about your responsibilities." "My responsibilities," I repeated, the word landing like a slap. "That's interesting coming from you." "We're your family," my father interjected, attempting to sound reasonable. "Families support each other." "Support goes both ways," I replied. "When was the last time any of you supported me emotionally or otherwise?" Jackson scoffed. "Oh, please, with your fancy job and apartment. What do you need support for?" I looked at him steadily. "My birthday was yesterday. Not one of you called to wish me happy birthday after you bailed on my party and organized a competing event." "We were going to call," Amanda said weakly, "but you were too busy with Mom's emergency family dinner, the one specifically planned to undermine me." My mother's face flushed. "Don't be so dramatic. We just thought a family dinner made more sense than some extravagant party where you show off to a bunch of strangers." "They're not strangers. They're my friends and colleagues, people who actually showed up for me." This wasn't entirely true, since I hadn't gone to the party either, but they didn't need to know that. "Look," my father said, his sales voice activated, "we all said and did things we regret. Let's move past it. Right now we have a practical problem with the rent due and the car payment." I walked to my dining table where I'd laid out the documents I'd prepared yesterday. "I have something to show you all." They gathered reluctantly around the table as I spread out the papers. Bank statements, credit card bills, car payment records, a detailed spreadsheet of all financial support I'd provided over the years. "This is what I've contributed to this family financially." I pointed to the bottom line figure. "Over $250,000 in the past 5 years alone." They stared at the number in silence. "That doesn't include all the non-financial support, the advice, the emotional labor, the times I've rearranged my schedule to accommodate your needs. That's just cold, hard cash." "We never asked for all this," my mother said, though we all knew that was a lie. "You asked for every penny," I corrected her. "You chose a luxury apartment instead of something within your means. You selected a high-end SUV when a basic car would have sufficed. You treated my credit cards like unlimited resources." "We're your parents," my father said, as if that explained and excused everything. "Yes, you are, and I love you despite everything. But this relationship has become toxic and enabling. It needs to change." Jackson leaned forward aggressively. "So you're just cutting us off, some daughter you are." "I'm setting boundaries, Jackson, something I should have done years ago." My mother's strategy shifted to tears, a tactic she'd employed effectively throughout my childhood. "I don't understand how you could do this to us, after all we've sacrificed for you." "What exactly did you sacrifice, Mom?" I asked quietly. "My college was paid for by scholarships I earned. I've been financially independent since graduation. I've been supporting you for years." "We gave you life," she shouted, abandoning the tears that weren't working. "And I'm grateful for that. But giving someone life doesn't entitle you to control that life or exploit it financially." "So that's it?" my father asked. "You're just abandoning us." "I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm changing the terms of our relationship. If you want to have a healthy relationship with me, based on mutual respect, I'm open to that. But I won't continue to fund a relationship where I'm disrespected and taken for granted." My mother stood up suddenly. This is ridiculous. I won't beg my own daughter for what she owes her family. She grabbed her purse. Let's go. She'll come to her senses once she gets past this midlife crisis or whatever it is. I remained calm. I'm not having a crisis, Mom. I'm finally seeing things clearly. If you walk out that door, she said, pointing dramatically, don't expect us to welcome you back with open arms when you regret this. The irony of her statement that I would be the one crawling back might have made me laugh if it weren't so sad. I understand, I said simply. You're being selfish, Jackson added, following my mother to the door. Actually, for once I'm not. My father looked torn, glancing between my mother's retreating form and the financial documents on the table. Carlene, please. We can work something out. We can, Dad. Just not today and not under these conditions. Amanda lingered after the others had stepped into the hallway. This feels extreme, she said quietly. It's been a long time coming, I replied. Did you know about Mum's text before she sent it? She looked away, answering my question without words. That's what I thought. Go on, Amanda. They're waiting for you. After they left, I locked the door and leaned against it, legs suddenly weak. I slid down until I was sitting on the floor, tears finally coming. But they weren't tears of regret. They were tears of release, of letting go, of finally standing up for myself after a lifetime of giving in. The apartment felt different somehow. Quieter, yes, but also lighter, as if a heaviness had been lifted. For the first time in years, possibly ever, I had put myself first. It was terrifying and liberating all at once. My phone buzzed with a text from Jasmine. How did it go yesterday? Sorry I couldn't check in, had a work emergency. Dinner tonight to make up for missing your party. I smiled through my tears. My birthday celebration hadn't gone as planned, but perhaps the gift I'd given myself, freedom from exploitation, was worth more than any party could have been. The evening of my planned birthday celebration arrived with a strange mix of emotions swirling through me. After the morning's confrontation with my family, I had seriously considered cancelling everything. The venue wouldn't refund my deposit this late, but I could save the additional expenses by calling it off. Jasmine wouldn't hear of it. They've already taken enough from you, she insisted over the phone. Don't let them take this too. She arrived at my apartment at 5:30, 2 hours before the party was scheduled to begin, armed with a bottle of champagne and a determination to salvage the celebration. We're doing this, she announced, popping the cork and pouring 2 glasses. To new beginnings and better boundaries. I managed a smile, accepting the glass. To standing up for myself finally. By 6:45, we were at the venue overseeing last-minute adjustments. The space looked beautiful, fairy lights twinkling against the exposed brick floral arrangements, adding colour the Chicago River visible through the floor-to-ceiling windows. I felt a pang thinking of all the work and expense that might be wasted if no one showed up. Your mum's sabotage attempts didn't work, Jasmine assured me, sensing my anxiety. I personally called everyone she might have reached and explained the situation. People are coming. Still, I braced myself for disappointment as the clock ticked towards 7:30, the official start time. When the first guests arrived at 7:25, colleagues from my financial firm, I nearly cried with relief. They brought beautifully wrapped gifts and genuine smiles complimenting the venue and my emerald green dress. By 8:00, the space was filling up. My neighbours arrived in a group, followed by my book club friends. Former classmates from Northwestern made an appearance, including my old roommate, who had indeed flown in from Denver. Clients I'd grown close to over the years came bearing thoughtful gifts and warm wishes. The most surprising arrivals were my father's sister, Aunt Judith, and her husband, who I hadn't seen in years. Your cousin told us what happened, she explained, hugging me tightly. I've wanted to say something about how your parents treat you for years, but it wasn't my place. I'm so proud of you for standing up for yourself. Her words validated everything I'd been feeling, confirming I wasn't overreacting or being selfish, as my family had claimed. The support continued throughout the night, with friends and colleagues expressing similar sentiments once they heard the full story. I never understood why you did so much for them, my colleague Morgan admitted. They didn't seem to appreciate you. Working through some family stuff, my client-turned-friend Michael asked gently. When I nodded, he added, best investment you can make is in your own well-being. The returns are exponential. As the evening progressed, I realized I was genuinely enjoying myself. The caterers served delicious food, the playlist I'd curated filled the space with music that lifted my spirits, and the photographer captured moments of authentic joy, rather than the forced smiles I'd grown accustomed to in family photos. The highlight came when Jasmine clinked her glass for attention and proposed a toast. To Carleen, who gives so much to everyone in her life. Who helps others build financial security while being the most emotionally wealthy person I know. Who deserves every happiness and celebration. She raised her glass higher. And who has finally recognized her own worth. Glasses raised around the room, accompanied by cheers and applause. The photographer captured the moment, and I knew it would become one of my most treasured images. Later, as the party wound down, my elderly mentor Harold approached. He'd been my first boss in finance and had become a cherished advisor in both professional and personal matters. He pressed a card into my hands. "Open it when you're alone," he instructed. After the last guest departed and the venue staff began cleaning up, Jasmine helped me gather my gifts. So was it worth doing? I looked around at the space that had witnessed not the birthday I'd planned, but perhaps the birthday I needed, a celebration of independence and self-worth, rather than another attempt to win family approval. Absolutely. Back home exhausted but content, I opened Harold's card. Inside, along with a generous check, was a handwritten note. "Carleen, I've watched you grow from a promising young professional into an exceptional woman of character and compassion. Your true family is not determined by blood, but by mutual respect and love. You have built that family tonight among those who truly value you. The next chapter will be your best yet. With pride and affection, Harold." I clutched the card to my chest, tears flowing freely. He was right. I had built a family of choice people who showed up, who celebrated my successes, who offered support without keeping score. For years, I had been looking for validation in the wrong places, from people incapable of providing it. As I prepared for bed, my phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. "Can we talk tomorrow? Just us." I set the phone aside without responding, not yet ready for that conversation, but acknowledging it would need to happen eventually. For the first time in my adult life, I fell asleep on my birthday, feeling not the familiar ache of disappointment, but a newfound sense of peace and possibility. The family I had hoped would finally see me hadn't shown up, but I had finally seen myself clearly, and that made all the difference. The weeks following my birthday marked the beginning of a journey I never expected to take, learning to live without the constant drain of my family's demands and manipulations. The absence of those $2,300 monthly rent payments created space in my budget I'd never had before. The freedom from monitoring credit card statements for my parents' latest indulgences lifted a weight I hadn't realized I'd been carrying. Of course, my family didn't accept the new boundaries easily. My mother's attempts at contact oscillated between guilt-inducing messages, "I can't sleep knowing my own daughter has abandoned us," and angry accusations, "After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us." My father took a different approach, sending carefully worded texts designed to appeal to my sense of filial duty without acknowledging any wrongdoing on their part. Jackson simply sent a middle finger emoji when the car was repossessed, then blocked my number. Amanda's promised conversation happened a week after my birthday, a tense phone call, where she tried to position herself as the mediator. "They're really struggling, Carleen," she said. "Dad's talking about having to get a part-time job at his age. He's 62, Amanda. Plenty of people work at that age, especially if they haven't saved for retirement." I kept my voice neutral, determined not to be pulled back into the old patterns. "But it's hard for them. They're not used to this." "I understand that. Change is difficult, but enabling them wasn't helping any of us. So you're really not going to help them at all anymore? Not even a little?" I sighed, recognizing the pressure tactics my sister had learned from our mother. "I didn't say that. I said the previous arrangement is over. If they want to discuss a new relationship based on mutual respect, I'm open to that conversation." Amanda was quiet for a moment. "I think I get it. It's hard being the only one dealing with them now." That comment revealed much about the family dynamics. With me out of the picture, Amanda was feeling the full force of our parents' manipulation. "I'm sorry you're in that position, but I can't set myself on fire to keep them warm anymore." 2 days later, Dr. Winters helped me process these interactions during our therapy session. "What you're experiencing is the extinction burst," she explained. "When a pattern of behavior that was previously rewarded stops being rewarded, the behavior often intensifies before it extinguishes. So they'll get worse before they get better. Possibly, or they may never change. The important thing is that you've changed. You're establishing healthy boundaries." She recommended books about financial abuse and family systems. As I read them, I recognized patterns that had been invisible to me before: the way my parents had triangulated siblings against each other, the financial exploitation disguised as family obligation, the emotional manipulation tactics that kept me constantly seeking approval I would never receive. The first major holiday after my boundary setting was Thanksgiving. Traditionally, I would have traveled to Michigan, stayed in a hotel because my parents' apartment didn't have a guest room, though it had plenty of luxury amenities, and paid for most of the meal. This year, I accepted an invitation from Jasmine and her husband to join their family celebration. "You're sure I won't be intruding?" I asked when she first extended the invitation. "Carleen, you're family to us," she said firmly, "the kind of family that actually shows up for each other." Thanksgiving with the Patels was nothing like the tense, criticism-filled holidays I'd grown accustomed to. Jasmine's parents were warm and welcoming her siblings, and their spouses friendly and inclusive. Her nieces and nephews brought an energy and joy to the gathering that made me realize how somber my family's celebrations had always been. After dinner, Jasmine's father raised a toast to friends who become family and to new traditions. The simple acknowledgement brought tears to my eyes. That night, I received a text from my mother. "Thanksgiving dinner was ruined without you. Hope you're happy with your decision to abandon family." I didn't respond, but for the first time, such a message didn't send me spiraling into guilt. Progress small, but significant. December brought another milestone, my first major purchase without the background anxiety of family financial obligations. I'd been renting for years, unable to save for a down payment while supporting my parents. With my new financial freedom, I began house hunting, eventually finding a charming 2-bedroom condo in Lincoln Park with a small balcony overlooking a tree-lined street. When I signed the mortgage papers, the loan officer commented, "Your financial situation is exceptionally strong for someone your age. You must have been very disciplined with your saving." I smiled, thinking of the forced discipline of the past few months. It's been a recent development. Christmas approached with its own challenges. I received a card from my parents with no personal message, just their printed names. Jackson didn't acknowledge the holiday at all. Amanda sent a photo of her daughter with a brief note saying they missed me. Instead of the usual guilt these partial gestures would have provoked, I recognized them for what they were: attempts to maintain connection without addressing the real issues. I sent modest but thoughtful gifts to Amanda's family and my parents with cards expressing hope for healthier relationships in the new year. My mother's response was a terse text: "Thanks for the scarves." Not "thank you for remembering us despite everything," or "we appreciate the gesture of goodwill," just "thanks for the scarves." It was illuminating. In January, 6 months after my boundary-setting birthday, I received an unexpected email from Amanda. "I've been thinking about everything that happened. You were right. I see it more clearly now that I'm the one they're leaning on. Can we talk?" We met for coffee when she visited Chicago for a teaching conference. She looked tired with new lines around her eyes. "They've been asking me for money," she admitted. "Not big amounts like they got from you, but still, David is furious." "What are you going to do?" I asked, careful not to offer advice unless requested. "I don't know. Part of me feels obligated, but another part remembers how they treated you, how they've always treated both of us compared to Jackson." She twisted her wedding ring nervously. "How do you deal with the guilt?" It was the opening for an honest conversation we should have had years ago. For the next 2 hours, we shared perspectives and experiences, discovering how differently we had interpreted the same family dynamics while growing up. Amanda, as the youngest, had seen me as having power and independence she lacked. I had seen her as receiving affection I was denied. "I always thought you were Mom's favorite," I admitted. "She was so much harder on me." Amanda laughed without humor. "Are you kidding? I grew up hearing, 'Why can't you be more like Carleen?' constantly. You were the standard I could never live up to." This revelation shifted something fundamental in my understanding of our family. We had all been pitted against each other in different ways, preventing the sibling alliance that might have helped us see the dysfunction more clearly. Before we parted, Amanda hugged me tightly. "I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you at your birthday. I was scared to be on the receiving end of what you always got." "I understand," I assured her. We were all just trying to survive in our own ways. As winter turned to spring, I continued therapy, deepening my understanding of how family patterns had shaped my relationships and financial decisions. I reconnected with extended family members my parents had kept at a distance, discovering new perspectives on our family history and dynamics. Most importantly, I learned to recognize my own worth, apart from what I could provide for others. I began setting aside money for experiences and dreams. I'd always deferred a photography class, planning a trip to Italy, joining a hiking group that explored state parks on weekends. My relationship with my parents remained distant but civil. They eventually found a less expensive apartment, and my father did indeed take a part-time job. Their lifestyle adjusted to their actual means rather than being artificially inflated by my support. Whether this would lead to personal growth or just resentment remained to be seen, but it was no longer my responsibility to manage their emotions or finances. As my next birthday approached, I found myself looking forward to it without the desperate need for validation that had characterized previous years. I planned a smaller gathering dinner with close friends at my favorite restaurant, followed by drinks on my new condo's balcony. Amanda called the week before. "Would you mind if David and I came for your birthday? We'd get a hotel, no pressure to host us." "I'd love that," I said, surprised but pleased. Lily too, of course. "Actually, we were thinking of making it an adults' weekend, if that's okay. First time away from the little monster since she was born." She laughed, the sound lighter than I'd heard in years. "Even better." The day before my 37th birthday, I received an envelope with my parents' handwriting. Inside was a card with a brief message: "Wishing you a happy birthday, love Mum and Dad." No apology, no acknowledgement of past wrongs, but also no guilt trip or passive-aggressive comment. It was something, however small. I put the card on my mantle, not centering my response around it, but acknowledging it as a tiny step. My healing didn't depend on their growth or recognition, but on my continued commitment to valuing myself. That night, I wrote in my journal about the past year's journey. The entry ended with words I would never have believed possible before. I am enough exactly as I am. My worth isn't measured by what I give others, but by the authenticity with which I live my life. This birthday celebrates not another year of age, but another year of becoming more fully myself. The most valuable gift I've ever received didn't come wrapped in paper or tied with a bow. It came in the form of a cruel text message that finally pushed me to set boundaries, to demand respect, to recognize my own worth. Sometimes the greatest gifts arrive in the most painful packages. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members who took advantage of your generosity? Share your experiences in the comments below. If my story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and like this video so others who need to hear this message can find it too. Remember, you deserve relationships built on mutual respect and genuine care, not obligation and exploitation. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I hope it helps you navigate your own path toward healthier relationships and self-worth.